Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Supernatural, The Memory Remains. And they did a really good job of balancing the Monster of the Week story while progressing the overall season arc with the British Men of Letters. So this starts off showing us the whole monster bit, where we see these kids doing their camping thing, most of them coupled up, but then you see these two friends looking on. One's getting uncomfortable and says, you know what, I'm gonna bounce. So he leaves and he comes across this backpack with money in it. He's like, what the hell is going on with this? And then he gets sucked into a trap, and then this goat-headed creature comes out of nowhere with this hammer and bashes him on the head. And we see that his friend saw this, freaked out, and ran. So then we get to see Sam and Dean at the bunker, Dean trying to get a hold of Cass and not being able to successfully. And then they start talking about, like, what's going on. Dean looking up lore on demons and all that, and saying, like, yeah, there's a lot of demon lore here, but not pertaining to what we've got at the moment. Then they get an email from who they think is Mick about the whole disappearance thing, and they go off on there, and we see that it's actually Ketch sending the email with, like, two guys preparing for something. So that's where we kind of get the other half of the episode with Ketch doing his British Men of Letters stuff while Sam and Dean work the case. So for the whole case, they kind of get there, they talk to the sheriff, talking about Jared's disappearance, and he's like, you know what, he lost his mom, his dad was abusive, and then his dad got into a position that he had to be taken care of. The kid probably left town. Happens all the time, not much to do. So then they go off to talk to the friend Darren, and they have their nice little Easter egg, a Game of Thrones reference, Stark and Martell as their FBI monikers for this one. And of course, Darren's freaking out. He's like, oh god, beds. And he's got a joint. And Dean's just like, you know what? It's probably medicinal, right? Letting him do that, kind of gaining his trust. And then he's saying that the sheriff doesn't really trust him because of the pot and everything. So whenever anything goes bad, he usually talks to him about it. And then, like, you know what? Tell us what happened, what you saw. He's like, I saw Black Bill. So then Sam and Dean are in a diner, kind of like doing their stuff. Dean's scoping out a waitress, and Sam's on his computer, kind of looking up lore, how this has been happening for over 100 years. Black Bill's pretty much like a local Jersey Devil kind of type creature living in the woods, and it's stopped these past 20 years from 97 to 2017. So he's like trying to get Dean to pay attention. He's like, all right, you find out more information on it, the lore, and I've already got a plan to kill it. He's like, oh, how are you going to do that? He's like, Colt does everything. See, Sammy, you got to work smarter, not harder. So that's kind of where we leave them off, and then we see Darren talking to his boss, Pete. And Pete's kind of like saying, you know what, you can't come in late. We have a big inspection coming up. I know you're kind of bummed out about Jared and all that. He's like pissed off about that. He's like, yeah, Jared really hated you because you cut him back to part-time. And he's like, well, that's his prerogative. Just lay off the reefer and don't screw up. So Darren then leaves, and we see him in the truck, and we see Black Bill pop up in the side mirror and bust through his window and drag him out and bash him on the head with the hammer. That's kind of where we're left off with Darren. And then we see Sam and Dean back in the diner. Sam already kind of like doing all the stuff with his Lord. Dean coming in with the waitress and all that. And he's like, yeah, last night was awesome. And he's like, you gonna eat that breakfast? He's like, I'm not gonna eat it now. And then he's like, dude, would it kill you to eat pancakes every once in a while? And he's kind of digging in, and he's like grossed out with what it is. And Sam's relaying all this lore that he thinks it is a satyr. And he's like, oh, that thing's freaking adorable. Yeah, it would take people into the woods for orgies and everything, and then slate its hunger with the flesh of its victims. And then Dean's like, okay, I'm done. So it's like, alright, we gotta get more information from Darren. And they got in contact with Mom, and he never came home. So they go to the plant, and they see the Pete dude, and he's talking, well, we got this inspection, that's a health inspector, plant's not doing so well, we've had to cut back on people, hours, our equipment's vastly inferior, we need to upgrade it, and this used to belong to the bishops. Now he's off playing sheriff and all that. It's like, oh, okay, and then we see the sheriff dude, Mr. Bishop, kind of doing stuff and working around. He's like, yeah, where's Darren? I don't know, probably off sleeping one off or whatnot. It's like, okay, so you really don't care about him because of all the pothead. And he's like, whatever he told you, he's probably high, drunk, or both. and he's not really worried about him at all. So Sam and Dean are pretty much leaving the premises, and we see that Darren is in a meat locker in the meat plant. And he's like trying to bang and get people to come to him, but nobody's hearing his screams. Then he sees Jared's body there, and we see a creature take it, and we hear crunching and everything. And it's like, holy shit. Yeah, that's the end of Darren pretty much. So then we see that Sam and Dean are looking up the whole stuff with the Bishop family, and that it's because of them that the town exists. They've owned it for so long. They've been the richest family, and they own everything until the last couple of years, where the sheriff has been like selling everything off, and they go to the house to kind of see what's going on, and it's very Addams Family, as Dean says, and they're going through, and everything's kind of like covered up. They get their way into the basement, and they see this really strange room with all these like murder implements and everything. And then of course we see the sheriff come in, and of course Dean drags him and says, okay, explain it to us. So he's like, okay, Goat Dude isn't real. Goat Dude's us. Been my family for generations. My father before us, all that kind of stuff. The monster's a god. Moloch, the god of sacrifices. And in order to be rich and everything, they would starve Moloch and give it human blood. So they created the whole persona of Black Bill to go out, kill someone, and bring them back and give their blood to appease Moloch and be rich and do all that stuff. Of course, the sheriff didn't want that and gave it up and wanted to keep Moloch locked up, but we find out that Moloch is not locked up in that basement. He's been trying to get rid of all the blood money and everything and do good for his community, which is like, alright, cool. So then who's Black Bill then? So Dean's like looking around, they hear stuff going around up top in the house, and Dean sees like the goat head, and then he gets attacked by Pete. And Pete had locked Sam and the sheriff in the basement. So then we get this tussle going on, and Dean's thrown over and knocked out, and he's taken by Pete with the Colt. And then we get the whole spiel how Pete was actually related. Different mothers, same father. Except the sheriff got to live in the nice house, he got to live in the double one. He's like, this is the family business, kind of a really screwed up version of the Winchesters. And he's like, hey, I found the god, he'd help us and the meat plant and everything prosper, so I'm doing that. I only did Jared and Darren because tying up loose ends, and now that's pretty much what you are. And then he pretty much leaves Dean in the locker, while Sam and the sheriff are like scoping out in the whole plant to try and figure out what's going on. And he's like freaking out because Darren was like taken as well. And then we see Moloch kind of like working through as Dean has like gotten out of his chair. And then Pete's the one that attacks Sam and Bishop, and we get into a really good tussle. And we see this like, my life's been crap and everything. It's like, you shouldn't have done this. And then he's about getting ready to kill his half-brother when Sam shoots him, gets the Colt, gets in there, and takes out Moloch. He's like, yep, Colt does everything. So that's kind of where that's left off before we need to get into the British Men of Letters. So then we see throughout the episode as well that Ketch has got a team. They go into the bunker, and they're pretty much casing the whole place, trying to figure out as much information on the Winchesters as possible. Tell me how Sam gets his hair so glossy, how many ratty flannel shirts Dean has, all that kind of stuff. If you can find the Colt, find it, because Mitch was stupid and gave it to him. So they're going through looking at all this stuff. Ketch goes into Dean's room, sees all this stuff, and sees a picture of Mary Winchester. And he's like, this is kind of weird that she looks the same now as she did then. Like, not much aging has gone on. And it's like, okay. And at first you think he's not stupid enough to take the picture. But we find out later that he did at the end of the episode. So everything's worked out. They've got everything set up. They've cased the whole place. And Ketch puts a bug microphone underneath the table. And then they leave. So then that's where we get towards the end of the episode. We see Sam and Dean talking about, well, next time I say our family's messed up, at least we're not psychotic goat people. Yep. And they're talking about like the crazy factors, like, yeah, going 12 rounds with a god, we got a kind of high bar for like the craziness that's going on. So they're talking about like what legacy they would have, because it's all about like legacies at the moment. And Sam goes to say, yeah, we won't be remembered in the history books, but our legacy is the people that we've saved. And that's how our mark has been made. And then, of course, Dean makes his mark in the table, while Sam does the same as well, echoing back to when they did it in the Apollo, as we see in flashbacks. So then they call Mick for a debrief and find out it's Ketch, and Ketch is like, oh, Mick had to go to London because of all the unpleasantness and all that, and he says, I'll be your point of contact from now on. And of course, he's listening to him talking as well through the mic. He's like, okay, that's fine. He's like, so what happened? Oh, we're the god and we killed him. It's like, okay, that's cool. And then he hangs up. Then he's hearing like, Ketch is kind of weird. We got to report to low rent Christian Bale riding a crappy motorcycle as we see Ketch listening in and looking at the picture. And I'm wondering what he's thinking, because I think he's got more feelings for Mary than he would like to let on. But I don't know where that's going to go or if that's going to make any kind of conflict for him, because he's not really loyal to the British men of letters. They let him do what he does best, and that's all he really wants. So I wonder what'll happen if push comes to shove. What would happen if he's asked to take out Mary Winchester? Now, if it gets into a fight, you know Mary's going to take him out. She doesn't give a shit. She's going to protect her voice. And that's going to pretty much be the end for Ketch if he gets into that position. Otherwise, he might team up with them and stop. I don't know where it's going to go, but they're pushing for interesting potentials with doing what's going on with this. Now, granted, he's not a main character or a reoccurring character, so we'll have to see. I mean, he's reoccurring for this arc, but usually people stick to their arcs and then get, killed. So we'll have to see how he works out. If he could potentially be the head of the British men of letters at the end of it, which would be kind of interesting since he's more of the hunter aspect than the kind of researcher aspect. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where this goes from here. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.